biggest motivation in looking after the climate is basically to protect the world for future generations.
I believe that sustainability is a great opportunity that we have going ahead.
We see an extraordinary potential in the battery industry.
So you are pivoting towards more sustainable products. Instead of having engine-driven products, we are now switching to electrical-driven products. And we have new, more efficient products also, like our energy storage systems and our solar-driven light towers.
Right now, hundreds of battery production plants are being built around the world. Here, Industrial Technique is involved in finding the best efficient production solutions in each step.
We also are involved in grid-scale battery. For instance, when you have windmills and you have wind, you can produce electricity. You can use that electricity to run a compressor. The compressor will then compress a gas that will be stored, and when you don't have wind, you can release that pressure, and through an expander and a generator, you can generate electricity.
A good example of where we reduce the environmental impact is on the newest chips. We talk now about 3 nanometer, maybe even smaller. They use EUV technology. When you use EUV, you use a lot of hydrogen. We have now a system that we can recycle the hydrogen and reuse in the same process, where we not only save money, but also the environmental impact of not having to produce that hydrogen is enormous. So that really helps the customer.
We work with customers in mainly 2 ways. First, to reduce the CO2 footprint in their production, but secondly also in helping customers making their products, could be a car or an aeroplane, more efficient from a CO2 perspective, reducing fuel consumption.
To develop sustainable and more efficient products is much more difficult than standard products. So therefore there are higher barriers to entry for our competitors, and I think that gives Atlas Copco a competitive advantage.
One good example of business opportunities, it's our air lubrication system for ships, where we inject low pressure air to reduce the friction of the boat and the water. And that can reduce up to 5% the energy consumption of a ship.
Another important thing is helping our customers to comply with local legislation. Sometimes on top of the local legislation, the customer has its own more stringent controls. We have a big North American customer who's really tough on the NOx exhaust. And we managed, as only vacuum supplier, to reach the level of NOx that this customer wanted. And of course, if you can do that, it's fantastic for our business and for the environment.
The energy transformation will require new gases. One good example is hydrogen compressors to the entire chain. Hydrogen for mobility, hydrogen for the industry. So there are quite a lot of opportunities there. Also, when you need to store CO2, you will require a compressor. That's why we have developed a product range already for that type of application. Another market segment is hospitals. 50% of the CO2 emitted by the hospital is coming from anesthetic gases. And we developed equipment now that can recover these gases and avoid the emission to the environment.
We've already taken actions to be more sustainable in our own factories. Today, most of our factories have solar panels installed. This we wouldn't have done 5 years ago, but today we do it.
For example, 90% of all our waste from the factories are recycled. Also, in new products, we use more and more recycled material. One of our latest products is made out of 32% recycled material.
Energy impact in the whole supply chain is very important. For example, when we build a factory, we will always make sure the supply chain is local to the factory so that you reduce the transport getting into your factory. And then when we take our products out of our factories, we use rail now quite often, which is a good, fast, low carbon solution.
So if we create a minimum impact to the environment, I'm convinced that our shareholders will also benefit from that process.
We're investing in more sustainable products over the next few years. And I think this virtual circle of innovation and focus on product development is what makes us successful.
And then you have the full circle of sustainability.